Our next speaker is Mark Pocan.
Good morning, everybody. How is everybody? Good. It is great to be here with you this morning. How about all those tweets? Right? Isn't that what we live by now? If I asked you what you thought about the tweet this week, you'd probably say, well, what day? And if I said, well, whatever day it was, you'd say, yeah, but when that day? And if I told you when that day, you'd probably still say, well, which one, right? We now live in this kind of new, altered world where tweets seem to rule the day. In the last week, Tim, think about this. In the last week, 1 week ago today, right about now, I was at home reading what Donald Trump did via the Attorney General by firing Andrew McCabe. I was reading that on Twitter. And at that point, immediately my reaction was, we have to provide a check and balance in the system. We can't allow this president to continue to act like a mafia thug and try to intimidate anyone who would go and have a conversation with Mueller during their investigation. So we just put out a simple tweet basically offering Andrew McCabe a job to make sure that he could get his full retirement. But that was 1 week ago today, and I have to tell you, I feel like it was a month ago. This week we had Betsy DeVos in front of my subcommittee. It's always interesting to have Betsy DeVos show up. Let's just put it this way. A reporter overheard her after the hearing as she left, and she was shaking her head to her staff and said, "That was another great day, wasn't it?" So it's whenever we can get Betsy DeVos to have to go back to one of her yachts in order to feel good again, I feel like I've done our job. We had the omnibus bill this week, which again continues to show the complete dysfunction of Washington. The fact that you get a 2,200 plus page bill that spends $1.3 trillion and you have less than 24 hours to vote on it. It is impossible for any member of Congress to have actually read the bill. Even though there were some good things in it, there were plenty of bad things in it, and there were things that weren't included in it. But that was this week. John Bolton, I think a favorite of everyone in this room. Yeah, that's what I thought. He's potentially, and looks like, coming back into the system. And of course, Stormy Daniels, go through everything else. It was a very, very full week. So I don't actually have a speech written out because I want to have a conversation with us today. I want to go the direction you want to go. So do you want to continue to talk about what happened this past week, or do you want to talk about what we need to do to take back our country for the future? All right. Then I'll use this part of my notes here. So let me offer some, I think, really positive messages about what is going on right now, because there is a lot of really positive things going on. So I co-chair the Congressional Progressive Caucus, which is our largest, thank you, the largest values-based caucus within the Democratic Party. And we are doing a bunch of new things right now. We've got some great new members. Pramila Jayapal from Washington State, follow her. Trust me, you're going to be really glad. If you love Keith Ellison, you're going to love Pramila. We've got a lot of new, Ro Khanna, we've got Jamie Raskin, a bunch of new members that are providing a lot of extra energy. And one of the new things that we've never done before as a caucus is we actually did a poll on progressive issues nationally in 30 swing districts. And then we also did a sampling of what's called, at least being termed inside the Beltway, a progressive surge voter, which is the voter who might be more progressive but doesn't always come out. How do you convince them to come out, right? So we get more of our base. And the results were fascinating, and we released them to the public this week. But let me just share a little bit, and this is why I think what we all care about in this room and where we're going this fall is so important. First of all, in these competitive districts, where all too often people told us, you got to go to the middle, you got to go farther right, you got to look like a Republican if you're ever going to get elected. Well, what we found was nothing could be further from the truth. We asked about progressive issues, from prescription drugs to Medicare for all to expanding Social Security and Medicare, to investing $2 trillion into infrastructure to create good-paying jobs, to standing up to Wall Street and corporations and issues like you would expect progressives would be asking to see how they polled. And I can tell you, to every issue I just mentioned, the vast majority of people, not just the progressives, but people in swing districts, strongly, enthusiastically support our position as progressives on these issues. In fact, who here thinks prescription drugs is one of the main issues we should be talking about in this country? I'll tell you, so does everybody else. When we ask a question in a poll, generally what you do, I think we asked about 20 issues, and you ask it two different ways, right? To see what might be the better way of saying something, what connects more with people. When we ask the two different questions about prescription drugs, usually they'll come in, 5th and 12th, right? That's how you judge which one was more effective. They came in first and second over every single issue that's out there. One, people know it's the major reason why healthcare is expanding so much right now. And two, they know it's the greed of big corporations that don't give a damn about you or me, and all they care about is their bottom lines. So people get these issues. When we talked about Social Security, and let me kind of pivot this poll to the Connor Lamb election. So we had that special election in Pennsylvania, right? And we picked up a seat that Trump won in a huge way. In that district, we've had a fight again inside the Beltway. Everyone's trying to claim what happened. And there's a lot of blue dog Democrats, the most conservative Democrats, trying to say, see, we need to elect more conservatives. The only way you're going to win seats back for the Democrats is if you put a more conservative candidate out there, and that's why Connor Lamb won. Well, here's the reality. Connor Lamb came to our caucus this week after he did his victory a couple weeks ago and said there are 4 issues about why he won the election. The first was that he fought for Social Security and Medicare. Right off of all the talking points we've had as progressives in trying to make sure that we protect and expand those programs. 2, he said he talked about a big investment in our nation's infrastructure in order to create good-paying jobs. Again, right off the talking points that we've put out there. 3, he said we have to have it so that workers can have a say in their workplace, and we have to protect at all expense collective bargaining rights and the right to organize. So far, I'm not hearing a lot of blue dog talking points. And the final thing he mentioned was the opioid crisis. And what he did was he took these issues, these economic, populist, progressive issues. He also strongly campaigned against the tax bill the Republicans passed. And he localized them and brought it to that district in Pennsylvania. And when he did that, he took a district that was won by double digits by Donald Trump and made it a blue congressional district in a special election. So I just want you to know our messages work. It's not just because we took a poll and we showed they work there. We did another poll called an election in Pennsylvania, and we saw the progressive populist economic messages work there. And those are the issues that are going to work in Wisconsin this fall. So I've got like 4 minutes to wrap it up, so I'm going to wrap it all up very quickly if I can, because I don't want to get Tim's wrath here. I'm going to make sure I'm in good shape here. First of all, the Wisconsin governor's race, let me say this. We have, I think, 16 candidates now. It was 17, and I think someone dropped out, if I'm not mistaken. Sometimes it's a little hard to keep track. But we have a lot of candidates who are running on the Democratic nomination for governor, and we have Scott Walker, obviously, as the governor. I am doing my best to try to keep a role of peacekeeper. I want to make sure that we realize the person that we are trying to defeat is Scott Walker, and it is not each other. So I'm going to take that role. But let me tell you, we know all the terrible things he's done, from cutting education funding to the terrible things for the environment to not investing in our roads and bridges and our infrastructure. But the one issue that he can't reel back that is going to cost him the election, regardless of who wins the primary, is giving $4.5 billion to a foreign corporation to create, at best, maybe, we hope, cross our fingers, 3,000 jobs. I can tell you, we have seen polling data now through Marquette poll. We have seen focus group data where not a single person in a focus group that spent over $60,000 supported the Foxconn deal, to me going to a business meeting in Beloit where no one supported the deal. They all had their own way how they would have spent the money. To me doing doors with Corey Mason, who now is the mayor of Racine, on his election day. Let's hear it for Corey. Where Corey told me, in Racine, where Foxconn is going, it was 50-50. People know for 25 plus years we're going to be paying for something that's going to create some jobs for some people in Illinois, some jobs for some people in Wisconsin, but we just set a new precedent, the largest subsidy ever any state gave, because our governor doesn't know how to create economic development. And that is going to take us across the finish line. And I'll tell you, I've talked to our Democratic colleagues who also have great opportunities to pick up races should they ever get legally called in Wisconsin by this governor on this issue. And I think they are going to go around into other Republican districts and have hearings on Foxconn. And let people talk about it, and then show all the highway projects that got delayed, the repairs that got delayed because that money had to go instead to Foxconn, and release those sort of things across the country. You're going to have at lunch Tammy Baldwin here, and I'll tell you, I was on the county board with Tammy Baldwin 25 years ago. There is no one I have served with that I am more proud to have spent time and served with than Tammy Baldwin. She is the same intelligent, compassionate, articulate, effective, strategic person she was since she was on the county board. And again, with all of our efforts, we can make that happen. So all I want to say, because I can see Nate has given me the, yeah, a little bit. That's all right. I understand. We have got the polling data showing us the public agrees with us. We have the special elections, 39 state legislative seats across the country, including in Wisconsin, have flipped from Republican to Democrat since Donald Trump got elected, and only 4 the other way. We have got the momentum on our side. We just have to make sure that, I know we all care about our democracy in this room, but we have to do everything we can between now and November to make sure that we're reaching out to voters and talking to people about these issues, because if we get people out, November will be a change year. We're going to flip the House of Representatives and Congress. We might just flip the Senate. We're going to change who's governor here in Wisconsin and a lot of other states. And we are going to set the tone to make sure that Donald Trump, if he's not indicted or impeached, will definitely not be reelected. So thank you very much for having me today, and thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you.